Still rolling.
We're here on Uncut covering Eat Your Vegetables and Other Mistakes Parents Make with doctors Natalie Digate Muth and Mary Tanaka. Thanks for joining us.
I'm happy to be here.
Well, let's jump into this book. This is a fascinating topic. Describe your interest in writing the book, because you wrote the book, correct, Dr. Digate Muth, and the recipes were provided by Dr. Tanaka, is that correct?
Correct. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I've had a long-standing interest in child health and childhood obesity prevention in general, but really I saw my sister and her two kids trying to have a meal together, and it was very telling because she was trying to get them to eat their vegetables and to eat a healthy, balanced diet, and they were just outright refusing. And from there, I started to pay attention more to feeding strategies and habits between parents and their kids and the dynamic. And it became really clear to me that there's a huge disconnect between what we want our kids to eat and what our kids willingly choose to eat. So from there, I kind of explored this topic more, did some research, talked to lots of parents, and really realized that there's lots of mistakes that parents are unintentionally making in trying to get their kids to eat healthier that may be a little bit counterproductive. So the idea of the book was really to undo some of that and help parents have the skills to get their kids to choose to eat healthy instead of having to force them to do so.
Okay, and Dr. Tanaka, where do you come in? How did you gain an interest in this topic, and where do the recipes come from?
Sure. So my interest in creating these recipes really stem from the patients that I see in clinic. I have parents that come in and they know that they want to feed their kids healthy, and they know that, you know, their kids need these healthy foods, but they just don't know how to prepare them. And so the recipes really stem from the desire for these parents to want to cook healthy meals for their family, but just not knowing how to.
Okay, and so we've you know, there's been a battle going on as long as parents have had kids and kids have had parents about what to eat. But what are some of the unique issues in today's dynamic between parents and children in terms of eating healthfully and otherwise?
Right. So you're absolutely right. Parents and kids have been fighting about this issue for forever. What's different now is the overabundance of junk food, calories, unnutritionally dense, really, foods out there that kids naturally have a preference to want to eat. And so if there's not something in place to help them to eat the healthy stuff, they're just not going to. And along those lines, physical inactivity is just a huge problem right now. Back in the day, when parents and kids were fighting about this stuff, kids were outside playing all day, getting lots of activity. Nowadays, they're inside, they're watching video games, and they're eating this junk food that's readily available. So while the battles are the same, the environment in which we live and the problem that can stem from the battles are completely different and really alarming.
Got it. And so what are some of the biggest concerns that parents have when it comes to feeding their children?
Yeah, so if you ask parents what they're worried about, and there's been studies that have done this, they say they're worried that their kids aren't eating enough fruits and vegetables, they're worried that their kids are picky eaters and they're just refusing the healthy stuff, and they worry that their kids just eat too much junk food. And this book really addresses those concerns kind of from the get-go and helping parents to be able to relax a little bit, alleviate the concerns, and just sit back and watch their kids choose the healthy stuff.
And let's talk a little bit about the recipes themselves. Describe how the recipes are nutritious, such as you know, calorie richness, density, ingredients used, things like that.
So the recipes are nutritious because they do incorporate these fresh fruits and vegetables, and as well as whole grains with less saturated fats to create meals that are healthy but also taste good so that kids will want to eat them. You know, it involves either frozen fruits and vegetables, whole grains, a variety of things that can also be adapted depending on what's in season.
Okay.
And Mary really highlighted one of the main issues of the book about tasting good, because kids often don't want to eat fruits and vegetables because they think that they taste gross. And what Mary does and what the recipes do is it really highlights ways that you can make fruits and vegetables taste delicious so that kids want to eat them and parents don't have to try to force them to eat them.
Wow. Well, there are a lot of books out there about nutrition for kids. What makes this book unique and special?
So the books out there about nutrition for kids talk about what kids should eat, because there's a big disconnect between what they should eat and what they actually eat. This book goes deeper and talks about, instead of what to feed kids, how to feed kids, and the strategies to employ to get kids to want to choose to eat the healthy stuff, because parents know what's good for their kids. They know what they want them to eat. That's what the other books talk about, but this book really helps them to be able to do that without constant mealtime battles and food fights.
Just give me a little insight into how that happens. I mean, what's inside the pages? I mean, how do you break that down?
Yeah, so it's broken down into chapters, talk about common mistakes that parents make. So there's 12 chapters, and we talk about mistakes that are overlooked mistakes, inherited mistakes, underrated, but really getting at stuff like eat your vegetables, kind of from the get-go. And parents have historically always said, eat your vegetables, and kids have minds of their own. And if they're being forced or told to do something by someone that they don't really want to listen to right then, they can just shut their mouth and not eat them. And it really makes their parents mad. So what this book does is it helps parents to be able to step back and create an environment in which kids want to eat the healthy stuff. So examples include having healthy stuff readily available so that kids will choose it because it's all that's there, for example, or making it taste delicious, like what Mary was talking about, which is the #1 predictor of whether a kid is going to eat something is if it tastes good.
Let's talk about some of those recipes. Are the recipes easy enough for kids to make, or are they labor intensive for the parents to make? Sometimes both parents working jobs, that kind of thing. Tell me a little bit about that.
Right. So the recipes are easy enough for kids to make, and but you always want an adult or a parent in the kitchen whenever there's any cooking going on. And what I tell busy parents are, prepare ahead of time. And so these recipes really are very simple and involve very little preparation to create these healthy and simple as well as fast meals to cook for their families.
That's fantastic. Now, are these meals that everyone can eat? Are there certain food restrictions that you have in certain parts of the book, meaning for vegetarians or gluten-free, food allergies, things like that?
Definitely. There are recipes in the book that do cater to some of these food restrictions. There's plenty of vegetarian options, and the main idea of a lot of these recipes is to be able to make adaptations depending on what's in season, what your kids prefer. And so there are many recipes that are vegetarian. There's many recipes that are lactose free. There's many recipes that are also gluten free, so those that are allergic to wheat.
But while we have recipes that are for people who have food allergies, etc., we don't encourage catering to picky eaters, and that's another of the mistakes that we talk about, because parents worry about their picky eaters, and there was a survey that half of parents make separate meals for their kids because they won't eat certain healthy foods. And we talk about in the chapter on catering to picky eaters as a mistake of ways to work kind of against that and to be able to have family meals and be able to prepare meals that the whole family can enjoy and can eat together and not have to battle about it.
How do you do that in a situation where there's, let's say, one kid who doesn't want to eat a pea or a plate of peas? Do you just continue to put those peas in front of them over and over again? Do you give them to them first? Like, what are some of the techniques?
Absolutely, yeah. So there's a well-established principle of the rule of 15. It takes a kid 15 times to be able to like something. So even if they reject it once, don't call it rejected forever and never give it to them again. Wait a few days, try again. Eventually, with time, they actually come to like the things that they never liked before. And parents just get really worried and tense about what their kids are eating, but the book really helps encourage parents to just step back a little bit, relax, make a healthy meal, include something that your picky eater will like, one thing within it, and just put the food out there and let them do their thing and not bug them or nag them about that, not make a big deal, not make a separate meal because you're worried they're going to be malnourished and never eat anything and they're going to go to bed starving. And over time, what happens is kids come around, and when mom's not looking, they try it, and they actually, with time, start to come to like it. And this is from experience. My now almost 4-year-old, when he was 2, he was so picky. He didn't want to try anything, which is really common at that age. But we just were persistently patient with him, continued to have a healthy, balanced meal available to him, and then he came around, and he's actually pretty good about it now. And then we have other strategies within the book that help them to kind of come around without being coercive and getting them to kind of dig in and want to rebel against you by not eating the peas.
It sounds like it's as much a book on psychology as it is nutrition in that regard.
It's absolutely right, and that's what makes it different. So the other books are about nutrition, what to feed your kids. This is about how to feed your kids. So it talks about nutrition principles, but it's as much psychology as it is nutrition.
Is there a basic tenet in the book that you want someone to take away, someone to learn? Or are there a bunch of them, or is this something, just a fundamental thing if you had to distill it down into one sentence?
Yeah, the fundamental thing is to help parents to just relax a little bit and to create an environment for their kids that's going to encourage their kids to be healthy eaters out of their own volition because they want to. And it's a process, it takes patience, but at the end of the day, you can raise healthy eaters without fighting about it and stressing and being worried that you're not raising healthy eaters.
Do you have either of you, do you have a favorite recipe in the book? Dr. Tanaka?
Yeah, one of my favorite recipes is actually a kid favorite, and it's called the Veggie Full Hamburger and Green Bean French Fries. And so it's my take on a version of hamburgers and French fries. Most kids like hamburgers and French fries, except my recipe is chock full of vegetables, and the green bean fries are actually baked until they're crispy, so they have similar texture to French fries, and that's what kids want, is that salty, crispy texture. But in the meantime, they're also getting a lot of nutrition from these veggies.
And we trialed that recipe with a bunch of kids that were picky. A parent said, my daughter won't eat vegetables, she just won't do it. And we had her, and she loved it. She thought it was delicious, and the mom was just floored. She couldn't believe it.
And it was really amazing because as we're putting the vegetables into the meat and mixing it, the kids were making all sorts of faces and saying, "I'm not going to eat this. This has broccoli in it." And after they were made, there was not one patty left.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Did they have other favorites, or were the kids? I'm sure you've tested this book out on kids. Have there been some favorites that beyond the one you just talked about?
Yeah, so the veggie full hamburger and green bean french fries were one of the favorites. Another favorite is the whole wheat chow mein. So it's made out of whole wheat spaghetti and tons of vegetables in there and chicken breast. And it's made like chow mein like you would get in a Chinese fast food place, except it's full of whole grains and fresh vegetables. And the vegetables are not cooked to the point where they are, wilted and you can barely tell what kind of vegetable they are. And kids loved it.
Wow.
And that gets to the taste thing again, just to kind of keep reiterating that. If vegetables taste good, they're prepared in a way that's delicious and not just like a limp thing kind of sitting there, kids will try them and will like them.
Well, let's get to that idea of like and taste. Why do kids crave things that aren't necessarily nutritious, or tend to crave things that are less nutritious?
So we have an innate preference as human beings for sweet and salty foods. And so if a kid has exposure to lots of sweet and salty foods, they're going to choose sweet and salty foods. And they're going to come to crave them if that's all they're getting. The problem that we have, or what's different from in the past, is that's easily and readily available. So if parents cater to that preference, then kids are never going to choose the healthy stuff. But the taste for healthy, nutritious foods is something that's easy to develop. Just like, an adult's taste for tea or coffee, it's bitter, but you kind of come around. It's the same idea with exposing kids to things that taste good, but that are not so sweet and salty, that they will eventually come to like them. But if they just have, if you give a kid a choice between French fries and broccoli, every kid, 100% of the time, is going to choose French fries. It's about changing the choices that parents give their kids. And another principle in the book that's really important, kind of take-home message, is this division of responsibility, which means parents decide what they're going to give the kid and when. And kids decide of what's offered to them, what they're going to eat, and how much of it they're going to eat. And if parents and kids can have that relationship and that division of responsibility, everyone will be happy. They don't have to have meal battles because kids will only have exposure and access to the healthy things.
Wow. Let's talk a little bit about, we've been talking about things that are going in the mouth. Let's talk about a different part of the body. Getting up off the couch and getting on your feet and getting active in this society where we watch TV, play video games all day, and we tend to be more sedentary. Are there any techniques in the book or things that you guys have discovered that would help us be more active?
Absolutely. In chapter 8, it talks about enabling the couch potato as a mistake that parents often make, and the kid just sits endlessly in front of the TV, snacking on chips, etc. The physical activity component is just as important as the nutrition, and getting kids out there and playing. And really it's about play. Kids love to play. They might not like to do the structured, running and things that we do as a workout. They want to do it because it's fun. So we just need to create opportunities for kids to get out there to play, have fun, and get them off the couch and get moving, and they'll love to do it. It just takes a little bit of an effort, and parents need to really be conscious about how much time kids are spending in front of a screen, because kids will sit there endlessly, and if we allow them to, they're going to sit there in front of a screen. But if we just help them, give them a little nudge, they'll get out there and have fun and be active.
Now, when we're talking about cooking, parents usually very busy, obviously running around all over the world, delivering their kids places, working a lot of times, doing a lot of things inside and outside of the home. Are there basic tenets you could suggest for parents in terms of cooking that they could employ every time out, no matter what they're cooking? Because it feels like that's would be a helpful thing to have.
Yes, definitely. And busy parents, it's hard to be able to create these healthy meals at home, where it seems like it would be difficult because you're running around trying to take your kids to school, pick them up, you have work all day, and when you come home, what seems easy is just going to the local fast food restaurant, picking up something that's quick, that's fast, and that's easy, and bringing it home for your kids to eat. So I have 2 big tips for busy parents to be able to create these healthy meals at home. Number number one is to prepare ahead of time. So whether that's making a menu for the week of the dinners that you're going to have, or when you go to the grocery store, if it's coming home and washing and chopping all the fruits and vegetables for the week, preparing ahead of time is really the key to making these simple meals at home, because if you have something already made or something semi-prepared at home, you're more likely to be able to create these meals when you get home from work and from a busy day. The second thing is really get your kids involved. So like Natalie was saying about how kids sit around and they're playing video games, and they're kind of more to themselves because we have all these technology that facilitates them being by themselves. Getting the kids involved in the kitchen is really an opportunity for families to get together and to create these meals. It also makes preparation a little bit less time consuming for the parent, because the kids can sit there and shell the peas or peel the carrots, and it's a really an opportunity for parents to be able to teach their kids how to eat healthy.
Okay. And in terms of presentation, are there different techniques in terms of presentation that you employ to get kids more interested in the food?
Definitely, and kids are attracted to things that are very colorful, and it's just like, as an adult, we like things that are colorful, that are presented nicely. So, the recipes all include different kinds of colors of fruits and vegetables in order to make it look nice and look in a way that kids will want to eat them.
And we have a chapter, the mistake being dismissing packaging, and parents underusing the technique that marketers use to get our kids to want all that junk food and to demand to have the Dora gummy bears or whatever. And it's about making it look fun and making it really presentable. So kind of along the line of the presentation, we have a whole chapter that really talks about how to kind of use these techniques of these master mind manipulators, really, these food marketers, to get kids to be excited about eating healthy stuff. Like, for example, putting carrot sticks in a plastic baggie that's got Dora stickers on it. All of a sudden, the packaging for a 2-year-old is way more exciting than just throwing a couple of carrots in front of her.
There's another recipe where you create these whole wheat pita pizzas, and it's called Smiling Faces whole wheat pita pizzas. So you can encourage kids to decorate, their pizzas with making a different smiley face with vegetables and sauce and cheese. So it's really fun for the kids and as well as for the families.
Now, this is all very good in theory, but do you have any proof that this works? That's the big thing, is the proof in the pudding, so to speak. Do you have any anecdotal evidence that this is succeeding?
Absolutely. So lots of parents have kind of previewed the book and tried out some of the strategies or asked us questions along the way with the difficulties that they're having. And we've shared with them many of these techniques, and they've come back to us anecdotally and said, wow, my daughter is more willing to try these things. It was hard for me to sit back and to not force her to eat the vegetables, but she really did. But it's not just anecdotal. A lot of the book is not just based on what we think or our own experiences or the experience of our friends. It's based on a lot of well-established research out there that's really studied feeding strategies in detail and in depth, and really looking at what you can do to get kids to want to eat healthy. And we incorporate a lot of that research into the book. And in fact, one of the lead researchers in the world on this topic reviewed our book and said that she was really excited about it because it put a lot of her work into practical application for parents.
Short of pouring myself into the book, which I will very soon, is there anything else we should cover and talk about that we haven't so far?
I think we've hit the highlights of the book, but really the idea just being this offers parents a new way to think about feeding their kids, to not have to feel guilty, to not feel pressure, to not worry so much, but just to create an environment in the home that helps the kids to want to eat healthy, and that extends out into their life outside of the home so that they ultimately choose to. But we're also not, we're not naive to the fact that, sometimes kids are going to want to eat cupcakes and, ice cream. And we're totally for that, too. In fact, one of the chapters is about forbidding potato chips and ice cream as being a mistake, because we want kids to really have the opportunity to explore all the things that are out there in the world, but really to learn how to choose the things that give them a balanced diet and a balanced way of eating.
Well, as a parent of 3 children, one very finicky eater, Dr. Digate Muth and Dr. Tanaka, I thank you very much for joining us here on Uncut.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us.